They are ordinary people who do the extraordinary, opening their hearts, offering incredible gifts of generosity, making a difference in so many lives. They are the angels among us. She gave up a high-powered job to dedicate her life to children who have nothing.
They were literally all over the place. The situation was so desperate.
Kids who sleep on the street, in boxes, wherever they can.
So are you going to go down to the subway tonight or no?
What could she bring to them, and how would it change their lives and hers?
Fulfillment is about, reaching people's needs and touching people's hearts.
Dennis Murphy with Street Stories. Tonight, a Dateline special, Angels Among Us. From our studios in New York, here is Stone Phillips.
Good evening, and welcome to our Dateline special, Angels Among Us. How far would you go to help someone in need? Write a check or volunteer your time? Many Americans do. But would you give up your job, your home, leave your friends and family behind? Tonight, Dennis Murphy with a woman who sacrificed everything. Why did she do it? Meet those she's helped, and you'll understand.
They're in the streets, in the sewers, behind cars, inside the subway. Places Angie Thomson would never have imagined.
They were literally all over the place. The situation was so desperate.
In the early 1990s, Angie Thomson was living the good life. She had a good-paying job in the high-tech wonderland of Silicon Valley, close to friends, family, and the beauty of the California coast. Then she took a 2-week trip abroad with her church group. The sightseeing tour of the Eastern European city of Bucharest will show you a city of proud monuments and ancient churches. But what Angie found were streets with a history of despair so profound, it would change her life forever.
That first trip to Romania, that's what I was exposed to, and that's what really, really crushed me.
What Angie saw were children. Children growing up without parents, without homes, without education, living in streets and sewers. The living legacy of a dictator named Ceausescu, who outlawed birth control and forced poor families to have kids they couldn't support. Many are runaways from those grim Romanian orphanages that shocked Westerners 10 years ago. They have become the lost children of Bucharest, and it's easy to find them. It was in the mid-30s, after 10 at night, when we came upon Lorenzo. He lives in a cardboard box in a scruffy little park next to the city's 5-star hotel. He scrounged dinner from the garbage. Lorenzo, how old are you?
I'm 14.
You look younger.
Well, I sniff a lot of glue. That's why I'm so small.
Lorenzo had only a sweatshirt for clothing. He told us some older kids had stolen his pants after he refused to give them the puppy he calls Bear.
So it's a choice of the clothes or keeping the dog, huh?
I have to choose between the dog and the clothes. The dog is prettier. It's got a life of its own.
Lorenzo, who told us he had run away from 2 orphanages, hangs with a small pack of homeless kids near Bucharest city center subway stop.
Why do you take such good care of your puppy?
Well, I picked him up from the street so I could take good care of him.
Why do you want to take care of it?
I want him to grow and get big so he can defend me.
His buddy, 10-year-old Aline, is the operator in the group. He can speak English, picked up from aid workers, and told us he panhandles several dollars a day. His appealing face loosens coins from Romanian pockets. Bright-eyed Aline stands out from the other street kids you see because he doesn't do this. Sniff airplane glue. It's a cheap high that takes the edge off their hunger, and most of the kids living in shacks and sewers inhale those fumes all day long. We wondered why Aline didn't.
Do you take glue? Why not?
Because it's killing me.
Aline told us both his parents were alive and unemployed in a northern province of Romania. he cannot conceptualize about a future.
What are you going to do next week, next month, next year? You're not going to school? You're not getting educated?
Aline lives in the present tense. Younger kids like Aline have to hide their money from the older kids who routinely rob them. When his aimless day is done, Aline finds a pile of other street kids to sleep with in a corner of the subway station. There's strength in numbers if the security guards try to kick them out. Lorenzo, up above, is in for the night in his box. His greatest wish in life is heartbreakingly small.
Is there anything you want to be in your life?
Yes, a cyclist.
Like a Tour de France, huh?
No, I just want to ride a bicycle.
Faces like Lorenzo's haunted Angie Thomson when she got back home after that first visit.
I remember just crying literally for 2 weeks after that first experience.
The ocean was as beautiful as ever, and her career prospects with a Silicon Valley telecommunications company were soaring. But for Angie, deeply religious and from a family of missionaries, something was missing.
I was in a job and making very good money for my age, and that in itself isn't fulfillment. Fulfillment is about, reaching people's needs and touching people's hearts.
So Angie left California and headed back to Romania. This is her life today. The street kids can see her coming from half a block away, pouring up from the manholes, the sewers, and the park benches that they call home. They know her by name now. She has food for each, and a hug from maybe the only adult they know who cares whether they live or die.
They're very tender-hearted. They just want to be loved.
When Angie Thomson uprooted herself from a $60,000 a year job in Silicon Valley, California 8 years ago, there was no question about her compassion for the generation of lost children of Romania. It was less clear what she or anyone could do for them. A place to start, she thought, was to get a roof over their heads.
We thought if we could just get a building to take some of those kids in.
How much money did you start with?
Nothing.
All she had was a name. It would become a nonprofit agency called the Children's Relief Network. With a Romanian partner, co-founder Cristi Șoimaru, Angie talked a sympathetic local politician into donating a wreck of a house for them to use as a shelter. And from the sewers and streets around the train station, they selected 8 boys to be the first residents. But what followed wasn't instant happily ever after.
Many of the kids, they didn't even know how to use the toilet. Some were breaking the windows, jumping out of the windows.
In time, the street boys settled into routines. The wreck of a house was patched and painted. And today, that shelter, called the Villa of Hope, is home to 23 boys. To a visitor, the kids look like boys and teenagers anywhere. But Angie knows that beneath those scrubbed faces and clean clothes are nightmare stories. Take the brothers Romy and Valley.
Romy and Valley, they were living underground. The tunnel caught on fire that they were living in.
A flash fire in the sewer where they lived left the boys with 40% burns over their bodies. Valley here lost most of his hearing.
How are you?
But neither of the boys has lost his exuberance. Angie came upon these 2 girls, Loredana and Andrea, in a cell after police started busting street kids inside the train station. They'd close-crop their hair so pedophiles would think that they were boys.
They literally look like Holocaust victims. Just skin and bones, just a mess.
This is one of the girls today, Andrea. She lives in Angie's home for girls across town from the boys.
So the children that so many people in this city look at as throwaways, you don't see the same person?
No, they just have to be given a chance.
Angie's foundation is a small one, and for now has just a few beds to offer. Each night that she gives food and comfort to the kids still on the streets, she also makes the heartbreaking choice to leave children behind.
These are the ones that, you want to catch as soon as possible because they still have an innocence about them and, aren't so hardened to life on the street.
Angie knows from experience that each night on the street can bring new dangers for a child. And we were about to see that firsthand. Remember Lorenzo, the boy in the box? It was just 2 nights after we first met him that we went back to check on him. Lorenzo was gone, and his buddy Aline had a troubling story to tell. Aline says that Lorenzo, high on glue, got into a fight with another boy and ended up severely burned.
How bad is he?
Very bad.
As for Lorenzo's prized possession, his puppy, another street kid, Radu, was watching over him, or maybe vice versa. We tracked down Lorenzo to a hospital where he was being treated for second and third degree burns to his legs. Lorenzo finally had a warm bed and a safe place to sleep, but he had paid a painfully high price. He admitted that those awful burns were self-inflicted. Lorenzo torched himself. It was a desperate, convoluted effort to change his life.
I was fed up with my life on the streets. I set my legs on fire.
The hospital will keep Lorenzo for several weeks, but it's only a short-term break from his life on the streets. We introduced Angie to Lorenzo, but her shelter is full. And so there really is no place for Lorenzo or his buddy Aline to go. We asked the government minister responsible for children's welfare why that was so. Dr. Vlad Romano.
There's not a government bed. There's not a government hand taking the glue bag away from them. There's not a government hand putting them in school. There's not a government hand teaching them any useful skills. The government seems to be not there.
There are some day center or transit center, if you like, that it's supposed to offer them shelter and food. Sometimes even for that, they didn't come.
Romania spent more than $50 million on child welfare services last year. But most kids told us they don't trust government institutions. So the safety net of their threadbare lives are the country's dozens of good Samaritans, like Angie, who operate with private funding. The Children's Relief Network has an ambitious plan to build a 200-bed village over the next 2 years, with the first dorm ready this fall. But it's a race against time. Angie knows that for every day that she waits, the streets may claim another child. Take Aline. We went looking for and found him one last time, just a few weeks after Lorenzo had burned himself. The once bright-eyed boy who told us he never sniffed glue because it would kill him was deep into a bag of it, as dazed and now out of it as so many of the other kids we'd seen.
You know what? You can't save them all.
No.
You can't even save more than a small percentage of them.
Absolutely true.
Does that bother you?
It's hard. Yeah, it does bother me. It does. I can't save them all.
But for Angie, each child off the streets is a victory. It's what she does.
To see one change life, it's powerful. I always think that, you know, Ceausescu was one man, and he destroyed this country. And so conversely, it's so wonderful, you know, to see how you can change one life toward the positive. You know, who knows what that life will do.
How many street kids are there in Romania? About 2,000, according to the Romanian government. But many think the number is much higher. For more information on this story and what Angie Thomson and others are doing to help, log on to our website at dateline.msnbc.com.